Alrighty then, ladies and gents, so as you can see, I've got the first mock-up of the Xbox One liquid-cooled version going right now, and I'm currently in Crackdown 3. Now this is of course just a test. Right now, finally my new motherboard came in, and I've had some time to kind of adjust it to basically being used inside of this case, and I figured I'd compare this and also Cyberpunk 2077 just for now, as this is kind of like a best case scenario as far as, you know, this kind of setup. Also, you know, as far as I'm concerned, right now there's still kind of a couple more parts that I need before I can finish off my fully internal build, but the pump, however, is working, even though it took a very long time to kind of get it squared away properly. I am currently waiting on a tool to actually bleed, basically a vacuum bleeder to bleed brakes, which I'm going to use for when I actually fill this loop, because it's going to be filled horizontally versus vertically, since I'm going to have the fill plug basically at the back of the console, and then that's going to be how it's going to get filled up. Now, what I'm going to show you guys here real quick is if you actually take a look at the basically temperature that I'm getting on the actual kind of water block itself, it's not too bad. I mean, it definitely could be better. And this is the pump actually going at full bore, basically, or full tilt. So it's definitely, you know, it's not the best, but it's also not the worst by far. Now, since I had originally planned on using a micro pump, I kind of realized that the pump that I got would not have nearly enough flow to actually work through this loop, and especially considering right now, as you can see, and I'm just going to pause this really quick, I'm just going to show you guys that this is using basically full-on 120 mil rad. You can see it right there, fan spinning. That's then connected to the water block over here on the left, and of course, you know, there's just a bunch of plumbing basically leading back to basically the pump itself. Again, this is just a test for the time being, since I'm going to be using those pumps over on the left, or rather those fans over on the left, and then that's going to be driving the whole setup that I've got going on. Now I'm going to bring that over really quickly just so I can show you guys the basically, for now, completed version at least of that. So as you can see, this is basically what it's going to be. I've had to cut away a number of the fins here because basically what ended up happening is they were interfering with one of the screws on the actual CPU water block, and then what you can see here is that there's just this whole arrangement of basically 90-degree fittings just to make this work. Now I am currently waiting to get a 3D printer so that I can actually get some proper basically 180-degree U-loops to go in there and basically make the water flow a little bit better than just having 90-degree turns all around. But that'll be probably a couple months down the road from now, so that'll be, you know, a little bit different. What I'm going to show you guys now is I'm just going to launch Cyberpunk 2077. We're going to take a look at the temperatures for that, because again, this is going to be like a best case scenario for this kind of setup. Obviously, there's no way to actually really make this thing any faster without, again, kind of going into something like full-on, you know, firmware kind of upgrade, which, you know, as far as I know, doesn't exist for this Xbox, and maybe there's mods out there by now where you can actually bump the clocks. I'm not 100% sure myself, though, so we're just going to kind of take a look in here. Now, Cyberpunk does make the temperatures of the coolant as well as the water block rise significantly. But again, this is pretty much, you know, a game of 2020, whereas this console came out back in 2013. So again, you know, basically 7-year difference in terms of, you know, various types of hardware that's been, you know, revised and that's come out. We've been through 2 separate generations of this version of the Xbox since then, and there's been a whole next-gen version released since this console has come out. So of course, you know, it's not going to perform anywhere near to the same degree as, you know, you would find, especially even in the Xbox One X. The Series X, of course, just blows everything out of the water, and that's considering the fact that it's running in backwards compatibility mode, not even, you know, actually running basically a native version of that specific game. Now, I'm not really sure how much they're really going to improve, since the consoles are, you know, pretty similar in terms of overall architecture. They're basically PCs in a lot of ways. but at the same time we'll see, since essentially they've got APUs on board where the graphics and CPU is on the same die. But as I was saying, I'm going to keep kind of uploading my build videos as this goes through. I just wanted to kind of give everybody an update and show that it is actually working. It is water cooled, but obviously it's not going to stay in this state. I'm going to clean up a lot of the things that you're seeing right now. Now, whether or not cooling performance is going to get better or going to get worse, that's something that is, yet to be determined. I really have no clue. Now, obviously, you can see there's a lot of, frame loss here. Frame rates are pretty terrible. But by and large, I would say, it performs decent. I mean, again, it kind of sucks not being able to actually do any proper jumping since I don't have my character on PC that has the unlocked jump ability. But, nonetheless, very cool layout for the city. But the performance is definitely not helped by the liquid cooling in any way, shape, or form. But this was to be expected. At the same time, however, you can see that it's running. So far, it hasn't crashed. It hasn't told me it's overheating, which again is pretty good considering the fact that there are basically only two screws holding the copper plate together. So, of course, there's that portion to it as well. Again, performance is kind of mediocre, but, there was never any expectation of this actually doing extremely well at any point in time. Let's go ahead and just check the temperatures really quick so we can take a look and see how that compares to what we were getting back in. Okay, so this is interesting. So in Crackdown, we're getting about 110 now. I'm about seeing 108, 107, which is kind of interesting. And there's still a couple of bubbles in the loop. It doesn't seem like all of them have gotten out all the way, but the pump is a lot quieter than it was before, where it was kind of rattling around. So that's not bad. 108.1. It's pretty much, warm to the touch, but not particularly hot. And again, this fan is actually not running at full speed. This is basically running at a very reduced speed off of the stock fan header. Now, I had thought about actually, going through and running it off of this little, fan adapter, which the pump is actually running on right here, to give it full speed, but I decided against that just because I wanted to see, what the cooling performance was going to be like, since I'm not going to be running the fans on the left at full tilt. Obviously, they're going to be extremely loud if I do, so the idea would be to basically run it at, like a semi, fast speed, and just see how things go. So let's take a look in here and let's see what happens. This is the part where we get attacked by the cops, I'm pretty sure. Let's see if we can get in the car. So yeah, I mean, so far so good. Again, performance is, mediocre at best, but I'm thinking that hopefully they'll improve this with patches over time. I mean, maybe they will, maybe they won't, but we'll see. We'll find out. Oh, there it is. Car shut down. So yeah, I mean, hopefully sometime this week I'll be able to actually get this whole kind of internal loop completely sorted. Right now, like I said, I'm still waiting on a couple of parts. I haven't 100% decided how I'm going to do the fill port, because again, like I said, the horizontal fill is not exactly the best method of helping you get rid of bubbles. So again, hopefully using the vacuum bleeder pump, I'll be able to kind of mitigate some of those issues, but it's hard to say if ultimately it will be as good of a solution as just having a topside fill port available for this console. But I just didn't want to cut into the top of the console itself to be able to do this, and also, there's still a bunch of stuff that needs to go in. Obviously, the actual fan header right now can't supply full power to all three fans, so again, I've got a piece that I'm going to be soldering into this to basically let that work exactly as I want it to, and also the internal power supply for the pump needs to come in, as right now it's using an external power supply in order to power itself, which is obviously not going to be ideal for when I'm running this, you know, in its standalone mode. The other part that needs to happen is I actually need to basically find a better way to mount the DVD drive, or Blu-ray drive I should say, so that it's not just basically hanging out all loose. So that'll be, you know, a whole process for me to figure out how I'm going to do that. I have some ideas on how I want to accomplish that, but we'll see if they pan out. The other part is the actual copper heatsink slash you know, water block solution that I'm going to be using over here. Also needs to be mounted in such a way that it's not causing any sort of issues for you know, basically any kind of electrical conductivity between parts, because we don't want to cause shorts or sparks to go flying everywhere. That'll be less than ideal. And then last but not least, some LCD screens need to get installed as well before we can really start to get this going. And I'm just going to give it another temperature reading here now that some time has passed. And hopefully, let's take a look here. So actually not doing too bad. It seems to be pretty stable in the hundreds, low hundreds. Been bouncing roughly between 106 and like 109. Haven't seen it hit 110 yet, so that's pretty good. Not bad overall. But again, this is a, you know, interim solution while I actually wait on, you know, my other parts to arrive for this to complete. So hold on for the next basically section in this series, where we'll be taking a look at the hopefully completed build by that point in time, when I've got the loop completely filled up, and where we've got this Xbox running fully in standalone mode with no external PSUs. So hang out until next time, and I'll see you guys soon.